But right now, I want to talk to you about energy prices, because we've had an energy price cap, haven't we, to help us get through what's been is linked very much with Ukraine. But now the government is considering letting the energy price cap be lifted in order that suppliers, those poor suppliers, who are only making billions, are losing out because people can't pay their bills. There's been a warning, though, saying that energy in Britain is almost by stealth becoming another branch of the welfare state. Ofgem this week set out plans that would result in households being charged an extra £16 on top of our energy bills to help suppliers recover almost £3 billion in bad debt. The current position, it really means that we're subsidising energy. We're becoming, it's like a branch of the welfare state that you and I pay to support people who can't. I thought that was the government's job. And also, by the way, don't we already pay for the welfare state? So this is what looks like it's going to happen. I'd like to introduce, well, Dr. Roger Gewolb, who joins me now, personal finance expert. Roger, good to see you.
Good morning, Petrie.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Now, it's an interesting article, isn't it? Suggesting that these energy companies are now becoming an extension of the welfare state. If we all have to pay in to support those who can't pay their bills, then that is, by all intents and purposes, a branch of the welfare state.
I think it's a wonderful idea. I'm actually considering this morning setting up a campaign, a national campaign, that all companies that have bad debts should be able to raise their prices and dump them on their customers. I think it's a terrific idea. In fact, in my own company, we're a small broadcast company. We provide broadcast and content. I have a number of clients, because of cost of living, who haven't paid us. And so I've stopped paying the staff and my electricity and gas and telephone and water. And I'm thinking of what else I can pay next. And the wife and I are going on a luxury cruise with all the extra money, by the way. I think this is, I mean, this government, which should not have let this ridiculous idea for these companies making, British Gas made almost £1 billion and EDF more than $500 million. They never should have let this see the light of day, this weak, spineless government of ours. What in the world are they up to? I can only think that it's what people are calling weaponized incompetence. So, in other words, when your partner drops the dishes and breaks them every time you ask them to dry them for you because they don't want the job, I think that poor Rishi and Jeremy Hunt have suffered so much that they just want out. So they're doing everything they can to be exactly like Labour, because this is something Labour would do. I don't care that it's only £16. It's absolutely outrageous to ask us to pay their bad debts.
But this isn't the first. I mean, this isn't the first time, is it? I mean, you look at things like the banking scandal and PPI and all of that, and all the banks did when they had to start paying people back is start charging us more. So it's not really unusual. And by the way, the banks as well, just it's casino money, isn't it, that they're making in profits. But we're kind of used to this now. But the idea that you just don't pay your bill and somebody else will cover it for you is outrageous.
Absolutely. It's institutionalized. I mean, I don't know what goes on. I don't know what the revolving door deals are. I don't know how the energy companies and the banks and all these other people to whom you refer get to engage in wrongdoing, in incompetence, and then get bailed out by us, the Muggins taxpayers. I don't know how the Bank of England gets to raise interest rates and destroy the economy when it actually has done nothing to curb inflation. this government just stands there and does nothing. I mean, every time I see Petrie, every time I see Jeremy Hunt, wide-eyed, pop-eyed almost, with this smug smile on his face, telling me how well we're doing, and they've cut taxes when, of course, everybody knows they've actually increased them by stealth, and how wonderful everything is doing. It creeps me out. I just can't stop thinking Bates Motel. And when I see Rishi Sunak, he is just so weak-seeming. Every time I write about him now, whether it's a note for a television program or an article for a newspaper, when I say his name, the predictive text types sunk.
Yeah, maybe that is predictive. It probably is.
So I don't know why they're doing this. This is just insane. I mean, what company has its customers pay its bad debts?
But we've got it with the water companies as well. But let's return to Ofgem, because Ofgem is saying they want to spread the pain evenly. Where's the pain for the energy company? I mean, they're making more money because they managed to buy their supply on a much cheaper market. They're selling it in a very heightened market. The prices go up like a rocket and down like a feather. We've seen this with petrol, which is way cheaper for them to be putting on the forecourts, but they haven't passed that on. We've got green levies now being on boiler companies of £120 per boiler, and all they're doing now is saying, well, we'll get the customer to pay that. The pain isn't being spread evenly. The pain is being given to us.
Well, you're right. I mean, first of all, there is no pain. You're making £1 billion. What are you complaining about? £1 billion, yeah. Secondly, if there is pain, what's it got to do with me? It's your incompetence. It's your system. It's your fault. You wouldn't if your local news agent or your chemist or your dry cleaner or your Starbucks or whatever, not to name a commercial name, but, Starbucks, whatever, started raising prices, telling you that they had some bad debts. I mean, you tell them to go jump in the lake. We are just in a nation. One side of the coin is that it's so tolerant and fair and understanding of the underdog and people's troubles. And I mean, this is the British spirit. But the other side of the coin is that we get taken advantage of by our own all the time, and we don't complain. In France, they burn things down for acting like this. It's ridiculous, and this is really the last straw. But the thing that I can't understand is, doesn't Rishi Rich and Jezza the Hun know that they're putting nail after nail in their own coffin, Petrie? I mean, it's ridiculous. How could they get elected with everything they've done to us so far? And every day there's something new.
Maybe they're trying to burn it all down before they leave. Yeah.
It's weaponized incompetence. I've just broken another dish because I don't want to do them anymore. But none of this pales before what's really wrong with energy. As I've said on your program a number of times before, electricity is 2/3 of our home energy bill. And our electricity is priced off the price of gas on the international markets, which, as you just said, is manipulated by Putin. And that gas price is many, many times more than our gas actually costs us. If you go on the national grid, they have a real-time clock which shows you where our electricity comes from. Some days, only 20% of it comes from that international market. The rest comes from our own North Sea, renewables, nuclear, wind, solar, etc. And due to conventions in the 80s, when the energy companies were nationalized, and they've never reversed it, successive governments have been told lately by Boris, by John Penrose, the MP who invented the price cap, and by the way says it's no longer fit for purpose, to decouple electricity from the price of gas, but they just won't do it. Now, when the price cap was close to £3,000, it was estimated by some think tanks that it would have been a savings in an afternoon of £1,500 per household to decouple. And yet they don't do it. So we're, first of all, getting monstrously ripped off in what we pay for energy. even the price cap needn't be £1,900, and now we're getting asked to pay their bad debts. It's a joke. And the thing that's shameful is neither the government nor the opposition will say a word about it.
But I mean, also, just very quickly as well, of course, taxpayers are already giving them hundreds of millions of pounds to support people who can't pay their bill, and now they want us to pay the rest. Roger, always a pleasure. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Roger Gewolb, there, personal finance expert. How do you feel about that? It's 16 quid extra a year. Should we be doing this for these energy companies, helping them pay off their bad debt? They want us to share the pain. I don't see them suffering. Do you? 0344 499 1000.